when it comes to AI, to understand where it's going, you have to understand where it came from. In this video, I'm going to break down why you have to pay attention to not only where AI started from, but where AI is headed. Okay. So it's one of those things like this. At the end of the day, okay, in the 1940s, the first digital computer was built. Okay. And within 30 years, the first microprocessor was built. And between the next 20 years, early days of the internet. Within the next almost 15 to almost again 20 years, the first iPhone. And literally within 20, compared to now, like 2023, if you're watching this in 2024, things have moved fast, meaning the first digital computer to now has only been less than 80 years. So think about that. Less than 80 years, things have went crazy. In less than 80 years, AI has already become as powerful as you can imagine. In less than 80 years, people not only have like access to the whole, planet at their fingertips, but it's one of those things where the next generations or the new generations only have more access, only get to live in a world full of these devices, iPhones. The iPhone is literally Apple is literally coming out with, the VR set. And it's one of those things where a new paradigm shift is happening. And if you aren't like ready, then it's gonna come and like wipe you out. But it's one of those things where, like I said, you have to ask yourself, okay, like how did we even get here? And like I said, from less than 80 years, we got this far. Okay, so it's one of those things. Well, you can kind of put it like this, okay? There are different types of, when it comes to like computing and like computing, like pretty much like language image recognition capabilities of AI systems, meaning over time, computers couldn't recognize faces, computers couldn't recognize language, computer couldn't recognize, things that were given to it. It couldn't process data as fast because microchips weren't that crazy and that evolved. But it's one of those things where as time went by, Moore's law only made things speed up faster. Moore's law only made the computing power even better. So one generation to the next, not only was it getting so much faster, but by the time you had the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, it was getting to a point where it was like moving way too fast, okay? And so kind of like I said, it's like in 2014, this is how a computer would generate an artificial face. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Now it starts putting people in, forget faces, it actually can give you an environment. And now you can tell it to create me, my dog as the king of the world, next to a beautiful backshot or beautiful backdrop. It's one of those things where AI now can create pictures like there's no tomorrow. Apps like Midjourney, things like ChatGPT are taking it to the whole nother level. But kind of like I said, this is between 12 years. So from 2012, from 2004, 2014 to 2022, literally AI has gotten so much better. Oh, this is 8 years. So it's one of those things like this. You see how from one year to the next, it got so much better. From the next year to the other, it got so much better. From 2020 to 2021, just getting crazy. And this is like Dolly's open AIs. And it's one of those things where it's moving too fast. It's moving so fast that if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss out. Because this is happening now, meaning from 2022 to 2023 and 2024, they're going to add more to it, okay? And the more they add to it, the better it gets. The better it gets, the smarter it gets. The smarter it gets, the more data it can process, the more data it can process. You know what I'm saying? The AI revolution is here. And it all started with the computer being built less than 80 years ago. So the first computer was built less than 80 years ago, and now computers are literally smarter than humans. The ChatGPT's IQ is literally almost 150, and Einstein's IQ is 160, meaning ChatGPT is not only smarter than 99% of the world, but it's almost smarter than the smartest guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's getting crazy. The history of language recognition. Back then, it couldn't really even explain a joke to you. You would give it the input of what type of joke it is and how you wanted to do it. But back then, it couldn't really understand. But now AI is here. AI is here. Okay, and so it's one of those things where when you book a flight, an artificial intelligence and no longer a human that decides what you pay. When you go to the airport, it's an AI system that monitors what you do at the airport. Once you're on the plane, an AI system assists your pilot in flying you to your destination. AI systems also increasingly determine whether you get a loan, eligible for welfare, or get hired for a particular job. And increasingly, they help determine who gets released from jail. Meaning, like less than 80 years ago, AI was something that wasn't even really like, you couldn't really even fully imagine or fully grasp. But now, like I said, AI determines if you get a loan. AI determines if you're eligible for welfare. AI determines if you get hired for a particular job. AI determines if you get released from jail. It's one of those things where people can act like AI is not that important, but AI is literally important. And the reason why it's so important, the reason why it's something you have to pay attention to is because if you're not paying attention, you're only hurting yourself. Because like I said, the history of AI is showing that it started off as, it started off as just like a computer that took up the whole room, and now you have an iPhone in your pocket that literally can access and do pretty much anything you set your mind to, okay? And like I said, AI doesn't stop there. It goes into things like several governments are purchasing anonymous weapons systems for warfare, and some are using AI systems for surveillance and oppression. AI helps to program software that you can use to translate text that you read. Virtual assistants operated by speech recognition have entered many households over the last decades. Now self-driving cars are becoming a reality, meaning not only are cars driving themselves because of AI, not only are the virtual assistants the new thing like chatbots, and like you can have your own lawyer pretty much as a robot. You can have your own lawyer as an AI. And it's one of those things where you don't have to pay money. You can create a lawyer once and give it all the data you need to, and it will understand everything you need to. So anytime you need to go for legal advice, it's simply there. And you don't have to pay. It can talk to you. If you wanted to talk to you, it can give you text if you wanted to give you text. It can even give you images if you wanted to give you images. But AI is here, okay? And so the main question is this. Okay, like what's next? It's kind of like back in the, like I said, when it first started, it was like I'm not gonna pretend to understand what this is, but I'm guessing what it's pretty much saying is like, okay, like when you first started, built in the 1960s, trained around 9,900 flop. Oh, pretty much you have to use a floppy disk back in the day to pretty much like store your data. Now, not only has it worked its way up, but things like AlphaFold, AlphaFold was a major advance towards solving protein folding problem in biology. Not only is it solving biology, AlphaGo beat the best chess player in the world. Neo, if you don't know, you need to know, is because it's Facebook's AI. DALL-E 2, like I said, you can generate you pictures like there's no tomorrow. ChatGPT, it's one of those things where ChatGPT alone, this is ChatGPT 3 in 2020, but ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 5 is going to be released in like a year or 2 years. It's only getting better. I don't know if you can see this graph, but it pretty much is only getting better. It's only going to be like more and more advanced. And it's happening now. And it takes less, it pretty much like the computation is measured in floating points operations, FLOP, right? One floating point operation is equivalent to one additional subtraction, multiplication, or division of two decimal numbers. Yeah, we're not even going to get into that. But the point is this. AI started off here, and now it's here. 2.7 petaflops compared to literally 600,000, 700,000. 2.7 billion to 700,000. That's how much data, that's how much change, that's how much progress has been made. So if this is at 2.7 billion, imagine the 5 billion, imagine the 10 billion, imagine the 20 billion. Like wrap your head around that, you know? And so, like I said, this is the rise of the artificial intelligence over the last 8 decades. And this is just the last 8 decades. Because, like I said, from 1940 to 1950, 1960, 1970, like I said, it was like the data pretty much was getting better and better. So, like, it's like back then in the 1940s, you couldn't even imagine. 1950s, we could kind of start working. 1960s, like I said, the AI was kind of coming into play. 1970s, more and more were coming into play. 1980s, more and more were coming into play. 1990s, you started to really see it. It started to hit the millions. 2000s, that's when it really took a dub. 2010, when they started making chips like smart enough to be able to handle it, after the iPhone came out, after people started understanding computers and technology and Google, it pretty much went to the next level. This is 2020. Look how much data, look how much progress, look how much evolution is just right here, okay? And so, like I said, if you're not paying attention to AI, you're only hurting yourself, okay? At the end of the day, it kind of comes down to this. To understand the history of AI, you simply have to understand that the history is not that long. It's less than 80 years old. And yes, AI goes back like way, like you can go back like thousands of years and talk about how like levers and, you know, automated systems and waterfalls. But the point is, when it comes to like ChatGPT related AI that can like process data and give you information, it's less than 80 years old because the first computer wasn't built until the 1940s. And now it's 2023. Meaning, in less than 80 years, like computers have already started folding proteins in biology. They've already started to beat the best chess player. They've already started to create pictures, videos, and any of the content that you can imagine. So it's one of those things where, like I said, the future is here. And if you're not paying attention, you're only hurting yourself. And if you are paying attention, then great job, because you at least have a chance. Okay. That's all I have for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one.